Friday Feature Artist interview series was created in essence to share the person and stories behind the artwork of the world's most talented, dedicated, heartwarming and generous fibre and mixed media artists with you. And this week, in a special pre-recorded interview, we are so proud to be sharing the artist and gallery director Julie Weaverling with you. As a director of Porch Gallery, a non-profit gallery in Carlsbad, California, Julie spends her days curating exhibits, working with region-based artists, whilst overseeing the operations, including developing programs for residents of the Front Porch communities. She also juries exhibitions for the gallery and outside organisations. With a unique artistic voice, Julie also creates her own abstract artwork, where she strives to uplift with the aim to elicit feeling as well as thought. Her desire is to create beauty in her work without it having to be pretty. We first got to know Julie through the revealing and in-depth Masterclass of Donna Watson. Through her time as a student in the Masterclass, Julie dug deep and explored new areas that her soul was gently whispering to her. As a result, Julie recalls deciding to really follow my heart and take a leap to do something I have wanted to do for some time. Julie is launching a global art project called Lift the Sky and states, "It is for artists to offer their messages to the world purely visual, all words, or a combination of both." Julie's passion to create beauty and uplift can be clearly seen in her Lift the Sky project that she has developed and now works tirelessly to curate. This project captured the hearts of the Fibre Arts Take Two team, and we have been following her progress with the project since the start of this year. So settle in and enjoy the aspirational work and vision of Julie Weaverling and learn how you can become involved and share your message with the world. Please leave a comment below and thank Julie, and help by sharing Julie's Lift the Sky project with your creative communities. Good evening, Julie Weaverling. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we're not live tonight, but we are happy to take questions. If people have questions, you can pop it in the comments and we'll circle back and answer them after this recording. So thank you so much for joining us as a Friday Feature Artist. It's really exciting to talk to you.
It's super exciting for me. I'm really grateful and so excited. Thank you.
No, you're most welcome. I thought to add context to how we met was you were one of the amazing participants in an online course that we run with Donna Watson called Essence of Identity, which is it's a masterclass. So there's no technique involved, but it's certainly very much about digging deep and finding your essence. So it's so wonderful to have a student as a Friday Feature Artist, and certainly we've got a lot to learn from you. So thank you.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Yeah. How did you find the experience with the masterclass?
I loved it. I loved it very much. So I was coming off of 2 very hectic work years during COVID and had to put my personal work way in the background. And so before the new year, about this time last year, actually, I started thinking, okay, I need to think about what am I going to do for my own art. And I had kind of decided that maybe I was looking for something new, a new direction. After everything with COVID, everything all upside down and crazy for everyone, I thought, well, I'm just going to, at the beginning of the year, I'm going to really ask myself a lot of questions and try to figure out where I want to go with my own work and try to take back some time for myself, for my own work. And it was not long after that I saw the interview with Donna Watson and learned about the Masterclass. And what I thought was, if I go ahead and sign up for that, I will do it, and I won't procrastinate and put it off and work. Instead, I will, if I pay for it, I'm going to do it. So I decided that it was definitely worth doing that. And actually, the experience turned out to be so far more than what I could have even hoped. Donna really has people dig quite deeply. You are doing lots of exercises, lots of writing, lots of lists, lots of thinking. You're doing a few small little projects, but those are more just as a culmination of some of the inner work that you're doing. And so I found it really rewarding, and I wrote and wrote. I couldn't believe how much I wrote. I mean, I must have written, like 100 pages, I'm sure. And then there's, of course, always more to be done. But I loved it, and I liked Donna. I liked her approach. I liked that she doesn't lead you. She makes you inquire within yourself, which is really the way I like to operate. And when I work with people, that's what I do. And I enjoyed the experience so much that I actually asked Donna if she would be the juror for the national juried show that I run once a year. So she did, and that turned out to be a great experience as well.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really fun.
I love how, I mean, you just can't imagine this world you can imagine the world that we live in, but the technology that's available now to bring us all together and to make these connections across the world. Like
Yes.
I was saying this morning, we were live across 3 different continents, and it was just, it's crazy. The connections and the things that can be made. Tell us about what you do, Julie, because just to give people context about you and who you are and your job and how it all fits in.
Thanks. So I'm director of a nonprofit art gallery in Carlsbad, California. We are I live about 40 miles north of San Diego, and the gallery is like a block from the beach in Carlsbad, which is really great. So the gallery is an outreach program for a very large not-for-profit called Front Porch. The gallery is Front Porch Gallery. And what we do is, we're really a part of the community. So I believe strongly that art creates community, and clearly that's what we're doing here. And Front Porch has 19 full retirement communities and about 35 to 40 affordable housing communities. And so I run the gallery, and also I do programming for residents at the retirement communities. So, for example, during the lockdown, this became super important. Residents who usually have very vibrant lives and community at the community that they live, all of a sudden were literally locked down into their apartments. And so I started calling people and asking them how they were doing. And what I found was the residents, and I was calling mostly the artists that I'd worked with.
Yeah.
And I found that the residents who were doing something creative, they were just doing fine. In fact, some of them were just thriving and said, "Oh, I'm getting so much done." And the people who couldn't get there and they just couldn't get themselves to create, they were not doing well. So I heard about kind of one of the early things that got me into collaborative projects and things is I heard at one of the communities, one of the people I had talked to told me that she contacted her fellow residents and said, why don't we all just start knitting squares with whatever leftover yarn we have, and then we can get together, we can put it together to make a quilt. And I heard that and I thought, oh, that's so awesome. So I thought, well, I'm going to try to see if I can get collaborative quilts created at all of the communities. And so that's what we did. And that was amazing because some of the communities could, over the months, get together a little bit more with distance, with masks than others. And some of it took months and months and months before they could even attempt that. But they were still working on this project, I contacted the community that's right close to where the gallery is, and they have a group there that makes, it's an ongoing group of about 8 women who make baby quilts for the Marine base, which is in the town just north of us. And so I contacted them to say, would you want to do this? And of course they did. And so that started going. I also started a Zoom program with residents from a number of different communities, and I called it the Kitchen Table Art Project. I had heard that name somewhere else, and it just seemed perfect. And so we started doing, I was just like teaching them different art things, and we were doing art journaling, and just getting together on Zoom turned out to just be so much of it, and residents getting to know one another from different places. And then we started sending out kits for people to make things that, and then this was all that would end up being in an exhibit at the end of the year. So it was just very, very, very busy. And then the following year, last year, well, it's actually started in like October of 2020. I started working with Brisha Kralovic-Logan, who's the founder of Women's Woven Voices. And that I was planning on doing some collaborative weaving for 2021. And found out about this because Brisha was going to be exhibiting in the gallery. And anyway, we kicked off this gigantic project, and I did weekly Zoom meetings with residents, and we talked about their lives, and I had questions for them, and then they were learning to weave, and we ended up, Brisha's project, it had about 250 of these long, narrow story cloths, and her goal was 1,000. And I had told her originally, I think I can get 100. And then I was like, I think I can get 200. And I'm like, I think I can get 300 by the time we actually kicked it off.
Wow.
And we ended up with over 800.
Wow.
I know, it was so funny. And she told me months and months later, Julie, when you told me you thought you could get 100, I thought, we didn't know each other well then. Now we're good friends. She said, I thought this lady was crazy. It was so funny. But it just off because the residents could get together and they could work on these, and there were residents that were teaching other residents, and some communities have whole section of their community that are non-English speaking, and we had people that were teaching even though they had the language barrier. And so just, I just love how art is so powerful in our lives. And all of the exhibitions that we do at the gallery, I always try to have something. I'll partner with therapeutic art programs, and as well as nonprofit artist groups. Right now I'm helping the Palomar Hand Weavers and Spinners Guild celebrate their 70 years as a guild. So, it's a huge fiber show, and just so, all kinds of different things that we do.
Wow, that is amazing. There's a beautiful collaborative weaving project happening in Australia at the moment called Closing the Gap. And people from all over Australia are weaving these big circles, and I think they're going to lay it down actually on the earth and take aerial photographs of it. I'll have to I'll link in some details. But there's something about collaborating, isn't there, that's so special. And when you can collaborate with communities and bring people together, I always have this saying that the tide rises all boats, like the more you give, the more it's just beautiful to watch. And you're really just the facilitator.
It is always so much more than what you're even thinking.
Oh, yeah, so much more comes out of it. And I love that you work with crazy people that have huge ideas, and I think that's great.
Super fun.
Yeah, super fun. How do you look after yourself creatively? You sound like you give. What about you? How do you fill your cup up?
Ooh, that's a really, really good question. I've tried to take some of that back this year. Typically, my art studio is in my garage. Half of our garage is my art studio, and that works beautifully because I have really learned to work in Years ago I thought, oh, I can't start painting unless I have 5 hours, and it was 4 or 3. Anyway, now, I mean, literally, I'll go out if I have 5 minutes. But I prefer if I can even get 20 to 40 minute chunks. And sometimes that's early in the morning, sometimes that's late at night.
Yeah.
Just trying to do that. Started a couple new things during COVID, where I started doing, I have never done really, I guess not, that's not true, but I started doing more stitching and book arts,
Yeah.
and thinking of, doing things that I really hadn't done in a long time.
Yeah.
And especially, like book arts, because you can make a small book in a pretty limited amount of time, and as
Yes.
opposed to working on a very large painting in 20 minutes at a time. That takes a lot of time. So kind of being able to feel like, I actually got this finished,
I have.
uh,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, I think
That's
that,
very important to finish something every now and then.
yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. We work with a lady called Sally Tyree, and during the lockdown period as well, she got very much into the bookmaking, and she was saying that it's not something that you can do very haphazardly. The way she does it is quite precise, and it makes you can't think of much else, and you're just very much there and in the moment, and very absorbing. She said so. It was very therapeutic for her, and something that she's continued on in her practice from that time as well.
Yeah, although I will say I am not like Sally. I am much more the haphazard style. So
I know.
I
Me
don't
too.
go precise in so many things. That's just not my bailiwick. And
Yeah.
yeah.
One of your books, this piece here, and it's
Yeah.
called Notes to Self. This is stunning, Julie. Tell us about this one.
Well, thank you very much. First, I actually did a very large painting, and I couldn't quite get the photo of it to work, but I did a very large painting, which was, I called Notes to Self. And it was during lockdown, and it's lots of, it's basically mark making, and then covered, and more mark making and covered, and it ends up being very, I think it's a pretty subtle piece, and I really like it. It's hanging in my living room. And then when I started doing more of the books, people, I get a lot of ideas, and people are like, how do you get all these ideas? I don't know where they come from, and I literally just got this idea for that book. And so um, I just started. That's the thing that I will say to people, like, just start. And so I just started, and I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with it, but I kind of started making these layered packets almost. And there's always iteration that happens, and you have to kind of go back and kind of fix it. But once I kind of figured out the way I wanted it, I literally like worked for like 4 days, and that's all I did. Like, I have to get this done, and just made me so happy. I loved it. It's been on our coffee table, and I haven't tried to exhibit it or sell it or anything yet. I'm
It's
just so
your
happy that I made it, and it makes me think of all kinds of other ideas, that direction that I can do, but which I have not done yet. So.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, I just love it. I love the circular composition of it, and, notes to self. It's almost like, well, they're not really ever going to end, are they? We're
They
always,
never are.
no, I think that's really beautiful. And is there any text inside of it as a literal book, Julie, or is it
Yeah,
more
there,
symbolic?
there is text inside that is both um, vintage book pages, and then also writing that I've done, most of which I try to sort of conceal so that it's not super legible, but
Mm,
there's quite a bit of writing in it.
yeah. One of the other pieces of artwork that you sent through that, I mean, they all took my breath away, but this one here, I was particularly interested in the story about behind this one, soul finding, and the shoes. And I'm like, wow, I need to ask you about this.
Yeah. Uh, so that piece, soul finding, is I've had it for a while. It's a piece that I did basically responding to my dad's death,
Oh,
and had learned the uh, the technique of Jumshi. Are you familiar with Jumshi?
I don't know it. No.
Gosh, okay. Well, remind me because I will tell you about the artist who kind of like the big world famous Jumshi artist. Anyway, when I was years ago, when I was researching for a show for the gallery, I came across these two things. One was Pojagi. One was
Familiar.
Jumshi. They're both Korean art forms, and um, and then I was just kind of looking around, and I saw that there was a workshop happening in Minnesota in the summer, and it had both of those things. I thought, oh, how cool! I'm going to go do that.
Yeah.
So I went, and the funny thing was, I was like the only person there who was just kind of clueless. I have no idea. The Pojagi, the woman who did the Pojagi, very famous for that in the world of Korea, and they're in the United States. And then the woman who did Jumshi is the daughter of the other woman, and I had no idea. So I discovered that there, and these were two people that could not have been more different. And basically, the week was spent. You learned Pojagi, you learned Jumshi, and then you kind of picked a direction, and you spent the rest of the time kind of going that direction. And the Pojagi is sewing with a sewing machine, which I don't know how to do. So I went with the Jumshi, and the Jumshi is basically it's taking layers of Korean mulberry paper, which has the long fibers, and you kind of reverse engineer where you want to end. Oh, there's a big element of you don't know what's going to happen. And then you go through what's kind of like a felting process, I guess. So it's like a 26-step process to turn these individual pieces into one combined piece, which ends up feeling quite like fabric, actually.
Yes.
And so that's what that piece is. And then the shoes, those were my dad's shoes. And on the inside of the shoes, I had done some writing on just some black paper, some writing, and then I had done some encaustic on top of that, and a little bit of burning, just some burned holes. And yeah, it's just very, very much speaks to me. I was very fortunate that Ji Young Chung, who is the Jumshi maestro, selected this also to be in her book about Jumshi. So that was pretty cool. And it's a very meaningful piece to me, obviously.
Wow. How do you spell Jimshi, Julie? And I'll pop it up for people.
Yes, it's Joomchi.
Wow, I would not have spelt it like that. So
No, of course you wouldn't. And if you want to look up Ji Young Chung, it's Jiyoung, and then Chung.
You'll have to go slower for me. Jay. Sorry.
No, Jiyoung, and then Ji Young Chung, Chung.
So the name of the artist that you work with,
yes,
is this person here.
And by the way, let me just say too, that was like such a great experience because this mother and this daughter, like the mother is like just so together, and we're going to do it like this, and then Jiyoung is like the wild child, so it was just like it's like the precise, and then the me, not precise, the messy. Yeah, it was kind of like that. Super fun experience.
Yeah, and when you said mulberry bark, I was like, oh yes, now I recognize that piece as mulberry, like to be that mulberry paper. I've been working with that as well.
So it's like the long fibers that allow the pieces to combine.
Yeah, and that texture of it. I've been using it in ceramics actually by embedding it into ceramics, and it creates a bark-like effect texture over the ceramics, and then you're able to do some funky stuff with some glazes. Yeah, when I'll go grab a piece and show you.
Good.
it's beautiful fabric. I call it fabric, but it is a paper. But
Yeah, right.
yeah, there's if you can get your hands on some people, like it's lovely to work with. Yeah,
So
really
many
nice.
amazing things in the world, right?
Yeah, and then when it's wet, it acts so differently to when it's dry, and yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, lots of water. As Ji Young says, all you need to make jumshi is the mulberry paper, water, and eager hands. You know,
yes,
a lot of handwork, and so a lot of people that they didn't love that so much. But kind of another one of those meditative, like stitching. Like honestly, I wasn't sure I would like it, but I guess I do like things like that. I like that repetition, that stitching. It's calm and sort of therapeutic, I guess.
yeah, definitely something
Yeah,
to do with
quite
hands,
from the way
mind, and
that
spirit.
I paint. I don't. My painting isn't much like that. Yeah.
And we need to show people your paintings. They're absolutely stunning. This one here is called Time Will Tell. It's beautiful. Where did you learn to paint, Julie?
Primarily, I'm self-taught.
Mm.
So I actually studied business, marketing, and management in college. But I've always done art, and then I started doing different art workshops, kind of as a way to give something back to myself during the work. This one's called Listen,
Mm.
and so I'm trying to really just express my inner self. I started out really as a plein air landscape painter,
Yeah.
and um, and that's just definitely not me. So I've taken from a few really great artists, Krista Harris. I've worked with, and I went twice to study oil and cold wax with Rebecca Kroll in Ireland.
Oh, I'm glad you said that because I didn't want to say, but I'm like, I'm feeling a bit of Rebecca Crowell here.
Oh,
You know,
really?
yeah, just well, because she works with that cold wax, and she has that depth and
And
that
the layers and the depth, yes.
layers and the geometric division of space in her work as well. I feel a bit. I see some organic stuff in with your work as well, though.
Yeah. Interesting thing, and usually the way that I work with my larger paintings is very organic to start with. Lots
Yeah.
of mark making, lots of big gestural, lots of super messy, and then sometimes I try to leave it like that, but I just can't. I mean, I just almost always come back around, and I need to build a little structure into it.
Yes,
So,
I
which I
find
think
that
really
fascinating.
ends up just kind of adding to the history and the depth of it, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. Kind of a um, lots of interesting surface and lots of interesting things. So when you're far back, I like them to be kind of have a strong impact, and then you come up close, and there's like a million things to look at.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Do you think that the way you work is a bit of a metaphor for how you are? Like, are you a little bit crazy on the inside, but a little bit more organized on the outside? So you start with a little bit of like organic, and then you have to come in, like you said, and you have to just. I'm happy to be crazy for a time, but then I need to come back in and tidy things up.
Actually, I think it's opposite. I think I'm actually I'm a very calm internal person.
Yes.
And so I think that may be why, like, I like to express, so I
Yes.
want to get that out there, but my nature is a little more like I'm outgoing, but I'm very, I wouldn't say I'm wild, I'm not. I've always been a person who has like I'm like the responsible person with lots of obligations, and it's just the way, it's just the way that it is. So I like that freedom. I really like freedom. So I
Mm,
like the freedom of throwing it out there early on. But
yes.
then I think I also like to get my intellect involved in the resolving part of it.
Mm.
Um,
Well, I think that's lovely, and it's beautiful to hear your thought process around that. And I think that's what happens in the masterclass, isn't it? We really forced to sort of go, well, actually, what do I like, and why do I do this, and is it organic, is it more structured work, how does it all relate? So
Yeah, the thing I found really interesting, one of the things that was really interesting in the master class was Donna had us doing a lot of not only the introspection, which I am like that anyway, so that was not hard for me.
mm,
Uh, there was a lot of things around nature and sense of place. And I tend to be like, I love nature. I live near the ocean. I grew up near the mountains. So those are my two things that I love. I love the sky. So I love nature. But I think that's why being a plein air landscape painter didn't work for me. I'm not inspired to put that into art. I'm more inspired with like my human feelings and thinks and thoughts about people and humanity and what's going on. That's the stuff that really gives me the juice. And
yeah.
so it's kind of interesting because so many people are really driven by nature in their work, and then of course a lot of people aren't. So kind of fascinating.
Yeah, definitely fascinating. Tell us about your Lift the Sky project that was born during the time of the masterclass, but something that I feel has been incubating for a long time for you, Julie, and it's out there for the world now. Tell us about that.
Yay, thank you. Yes, so I was literally working on the things for the master class, and I was really trying to think about what direction am I taking my art. And um, literally, it was like I had a vision, and it sounds really woo-woo, and I'm not very much like that, but I literally had a vision of an exhibition, which was an installation of these like long hanging panels, and I started thinking about it. And as I had said, I've worked on a few collaborative projects, and I felt like in the next few years I would probably try to do something myself, but I really wasn't thinking about it at all. And I mean, there's always so much going on in the background, and so apparently um, there was something brewing. And so I started thinking about, well, what is that I'm looking at in that vision? And it just kind of all. Then I started writing about that, and then it just, I kind of put everything else aside, and it's all still aside. And I just started writing and writing and thinking about it and thinking about it and brainstorming how it could work, what would it be,
Yeah.
what would the name be, brainstorming through 100 different names. And then finally I thought, I hit on Lift the Sky, and I thought that's it. And then I can see the genesis. There's one of the paintings, I think I sent it to you, called In Other News, and that was created during COVID. And the notes to self, yes, that piece, notes to self. So what I started really feeling is like all of this, we've been getting so much bad news and so many negative things going on in the world. And I see things about Australia, and I see things about everywhere really. And it's not limited to the United States. And there's been so much negativity. And I just don't feel like we're made to live like that. And I don't feel like for most people that's a natural state. And I think it's been really unhealthy. And like, I know the impact of what all of that has had on my mom has been really, really bad. And so I came to the idea of inviting artists to answer the question, what's your message to the world?
Mm.
And this actually goes back several years, I think to maybe 2018 or 2019, something that I did with residents at Front Porch Communities at some events. I had them write on a piece of paper, and then I hung the whole thing as an installation, and I had them write, what's your message to the world? And so it kind of just started coming together.
Wow.
And then what I thought is, I wanted the pieces to be multiples in one piece. And of course, these things take a lot of iterations to make them work. So the first panel that we put together, and I'm really lucky that Vicki DeLong, who works with me, she's been helping me at the gallery, and also to do some of the sewing. And my husband has also been, he sews much better than me. So I do all the pinning and I do all the design of figuring it out. And then, started inviting artists that I knew and know to. So I thought, first thing is I need to get a group of things together from artists who are willing to do it. I think, some of them, they did it just because they know me and we're friends, or they like me or whatever. And they thought, yeah, I'm going to do it. Some were immediately really excited by the idea. So I thought, if I can get enough of an early group going and start really building out the website, so that when people who don't know me would end up there somehow, that they would also be inspired to want to participate. So that was kind of the tack that I took. And I had, the thing that I was just thinking about how it would be when people would walk in, so I thought, I'm having it at the gallery. I already told the CEO of our organization about it, and he loved the idea, and I may tour it to some of the communities, but
Yeah.
I had this idea that people would, the viewers would come in, and then, like, first it's just like, wow, look at what all of these people have done, and then you start looking at the individual pieces, and they're so varied. There are photographers, there are painters, there's collage, there's lots of fiber arts. That piece is from an artist who's a painter. She's from Australia, and
Wow.
one of the first pieces I got, and I just love it. It's so strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Debbie, how do you say her last name? Debbie
Schreiber.
Schreiber, Debbie Schreiber, that one. That's
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Anne Turley.
Yeah, Anne Turley. So she is in our area, and she's a fiber artist. I haven't seen anything like this before, so this was kind of new. And her message is kintsugi, making broken beautiful again, which of course is lovely. Super
Yeah.
excited to see that. And this
Yeah.
piece literally, like, showed up at my door. Knock, knock. It's the postman delivering a box to me, and I didn't recognize the name, because I, of course, keeping track of all of the participants, and this person had heard about it somewhere, and she just decided to make a piece and send it, and her message is calm, and it's just a gorgeous fiber arts piece, and it is calm, and it really does provide that, and that was so exciting for that to arrive, as it's like, you can only go so far with just the people that you know personally. It has to be able to spread on its own. This is Brisha Kralovic Logan, and creativity, conscious, clarity. She has dyed this fabric and woven it, and then written all of these um, lovely words that start with C. Brisha is the one I mentioned before, who founded Women's Woven Voices. And
Wow.
yeah, so I'm happy that she and I have become really close friends, and
I love this one. This
yeah,
one feels to me like shadows, like it's either shadows in or over water, or looking through a tree. It's just beautiful. So much
yeah,
depth to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely feel. I think in person, I've had blues are difficult to photograph, so it's in person. It's a tiny bit more of a turquoisey than what you're seeing, uh,
Yeah.
but still this captures it. So it's kind of like, is it water? Is it the sky?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really cool.
It is beautiful. Maybe under a tree looking up at the sky, through the
Yes,
leaves.
yeah.
Yeah, it gives you a bit more hope that way, doesn't it, when you're looking
It
up?
really does. And you know what's funny, Ange, is
Yeah.
after all of this was going, and I started thinking back, and to, when I came upon the name Lift the Sky, because it was like, sky's the limit. And I'm like, well, why is the sky the limit? It's lift the sky. So That's kind of
Yeah.
how I came upon that name. And then I started thinking back, and I said to my husband later, like, you know, probably for the year before that, I kept telling him, I'm really liking this word sky. I'm thinking I want to be called Sky. I think that's going to be, I'm going to
Yeah.
change, I'm going to just start being called Sky. So it's so funny. Like, it's like it was in there, and that's how Sky came out. It's
Yes.
like, okay.
You were going to change your name to Sky.
I wasn't going to like change it officially, but just
You
kind
wanted
of
to
use
be known as
like, could
Sky.
you just call me Sky?
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've certainly put the name out there now. How can people get involved, Julie? What do they need to do? Are you still looking for people?
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. So right now we are preparing for the inaugural exhibition, and I say that because I hope that there will be many, many, many. Right now, I have 76 individual pieces that I've received,
Mhm.
and I want hundreds. I'm hoping for hundreds. So I plan to have the exhibition here, and then maybe you have some ideas of where I could apply to bring it to Australia. That'd be fun. So I hope
Yeah.
to travel it, and I hope to just keep building it. I would love for any of your artists to join, and
Yes.
it's free. I'm trying to see if I can get a little bit of. Right now, I'm just funding the whole. It's kind of like my baby, so I'm just paying for everything, and I would hope to be able to get some grants or something to help for people that are from far parts of the world that may not have the money to send the piece.
Yes.
Um, to be able to reimburse a little bit for shipping, but there's no cost to participate or anything. And the more the merrier. And then once a piece is on the website, I link to the artist's website if they have one. And later, once this first exhibition is up, I will begin doing a little bit more features on artists. And I have to beef up on my social media, but there's so much to be done to get ready for this first exhibition. Uh,
Yes.
so in essence, people are making an 18 by 24-inch vertical artwork.
Yes.
So
8 by 24. Is that like that's larger than an A4 pice of cartridge paper? That's larger, isn't it?
it is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm
it's
just
18
writing
by
these down.
24, and it can be really anything. I mean, any kind of fabric. They've had a few that have put them on paper because that's how they worked, and then they sent it, and then I put that on. I added on to the muslin or something. Either way, and there are people that are printing theirs on canvas, so it can be canvas, fabric, muslin. Really, it can just be all mishmashed together. Lots of variety of things. And for the first exhibition, I'm thinking that if artists are interested and they can, hop in and get started, I think as long as we receive things by like I want to say like January 5, 2023, we could
Mm.
probably make it work. I've already put people on alert. Like we may have an influx towards the end, which I'm kind of expecting anyway. But if you could, I try to ask people if you're going to do it. Try to do it within 4 weeks because it's
Yeah.
kind of a rolling deadline. That way I can keep up with everything that has to happen once it arrives here, and then it'll be, we'll have a great opening reception. I might try to see about doing some kind of a Zoom also with the artists who are
Yeah.
far away, so we can all see it together. And
Yeah.
one of the things that's been so great is, I really had this idea about the viewers coming in and seeing the whole thing and getting like, wow. But then looking at individual pieces and, something in more than one or just one might just like really like speak to their heart, speak to what they're going through. There are so many messages that are, very universal things like hope and joy and things that are really positive, peace and love, lots of things like that. There are some environmental messages. There are some very personal messages. So it's,
Mm.
it's quite a variety. And so I was really thinking about that. And then what I've discovered is that it's also been very potent for many of the artists. And, I just really hadn't thought about that from that standpoint. I was just, but it's been really great. Some of the messages that I've received about, um, how they felt about doing it.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that makes me really happy.
Oh, absolutely. Art is so special, whether you're doing it for yourself or someone else. It all works, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you with your book, like you just you sort of birthed it. But yeah, it was really quite healing. And I can imagine some of the messages there that would be very touching. Have you thought about, I mean, I'm just thinking, because you want to keep the collection together, have you thought about maybe trying to get some prints of things, making gift cards or little posters of some of the gorgeous sayings, some
Yes.
pictures of
Yeah.
hope?
It's definitely something that's, on my list. Uh,
Yeah.
Things like that are on my list. So, I have to, I don't have a lot of time extra for
Yeah.
working on that side of things, but that's all stuff I hope to come. I really hope a book will come. And
Yes.
I think there's, just more and more. I mean, I think you can say the world always needs good news and uplifting things, but that's what, like I like to have, I like to do things that are like outside of myself. I want to make my own art, but I want things that are something that can impact people. And I think all of these pieces,
Mm.
it's, it's just all about what each artist has gone through and what they wish for the world. And, I'm trying to ask people, oh, this piece, isn't this gorgeous? So this piece was by Terry Smith. I knew her as a painter, and then this arrived in the mail. She lives in Arizona, and it's Shine Your Own Beautiful and Perfect Light,
Ah,
and which is
mm.
lovely. And then she actually did a Lift the Sky workshop, and we did a Zoom kickoff for it, and was super fun. And she had I think there were about 11 or 12 people in their workshop who each made a piece. And I'm actually planning right now, I'm going to be going in December to Las Vegas to do a workshop.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, with a good friend of mine who lives over there, who's the piece that you have there that is The Time Is Now. That artist, Linda Schaefer, we're gonna do it together. So I'm excited about that. And I hope to do, more Lift the Sky workshops. I mean, there's just so many things like I can really envision for the future that is super cool. Super cool. Is that not gorgeous? That one is called
Oh,
Healing. And
that
it's
is
it's a tribute to the people who help people to heal.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
that one. Tara Ricard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
beautiful.
reverse applique and
Oh,
all
yeah.
this scented fabrics.
Oh, this is the piece from Linda Schaefer.
The time is now. Yeah, so that's kind of my clarion call. Like, and now's the time. And I hope people will want to participate and add their voice to the growing, unique voices that are a part of this. And I hope that if anyone has any ideas of where I might look to try to bring the exhibition. So we're going to end up with like about 6 foot long hanging panels. And
Yes.
they will also be able to, of course, be against the wall, but I really like the idea of them hanging. And I've made it such that they can also be connected to have like a super long hanging
Yes.
piece. But really, I like the idea of the individual panels hanging and people sort of walking through and wandering through
Yeah.
this maze of all these beautiful messages. And
I like the I like the idea of maybe not having it in an art gallery, maybe having it in a public space where
oh
where
yeah,
where people that are unassuming sort of walk through and they go, what is all like? Because they're really the people. Not, I don't really want to say they're really the people that you want to, but you want to reach that wider audience, not just someone who visits art galleries.
oh definitely, no,
You know,
definitely. not limiting to art galleries. This is just,
Yeah. Okay.
this is the first place. I also want to build towards having a year-long exhibition at our San Diego International Airport. And
Yes. Yes.
so I need quite a lot for that because I've already been looking, and the section that I want is this big transition corridor. And so I need to have about like at least like 200 total pieces of
Yeah.
individual pieces. So I have about, a little more than a third towards that, and I can just build towards that. But then I just think of how many people would walk by it, and something's going to grab their attention, and they'll walk over and like, wow, that is so cool.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Well, everyone that's listening, share this with your creative communities. Get everybody to have a look at Julie's website, liftthesky.com, and all the details are there. Julie's currently got 76 pieces, but I think by the time this airs, you'll have a lot more. And then afterwards, I'm hoping that you'll have a lot more again, Julie. So keep us updated. I can't wait. I know the team at Fibre Arts Take Two. I'm going to set them a challenge to create a piece each.
Yes.
We'll give you one big fat message.
That's what we do.
Exactly. We have some. Yeah, I know that our team members would love to get involved and send that. And let's talk as well about us trying to help a little bit with some postage for people that need it as well. I'd love to be able to contribute in that way as well.
Okay. Thank you.
And we'll also share this on our Facebook. We have an open Facebook group, and there's about 8,000 people in there now. So what a wonderful project to share with people. And I'd love to share that with them as well. And
fantastic. Anything, I mean, at this point,
Yeah.
the point where it's like, I don't want everyone to hear about it and try to, honestly, I can't believe I really only started this in March, and I have like 175 artists signed up from 13 countries. I've received 76 pieces from 6 countries. To me, it just shows that people are looking for things like this. And it's very gratifying.
Yeah, people want to contribute, and they want more positivity in their lives. And Julie, thank you for being the conduit and putting all that muscle in behind the scenes, because these things don't just happen. So well done to you. Well done. Yeah, congratulations. And I hope that this fills your cup up and that you can continue to snatch away those hours in your studio and keep creating for you as well. It's really important.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So one last reminder, everyone, Lift the Sky, a project by Julie Weaverling for the world. And we look forward to seeing it on display, and we'll keep our eyes and ears open for some places around Australia that I'm sure it could go in many, but how exciting.
Awesome. Great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this pre-recording. We are broadcasting this on the 25th of November, so we hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and everyone was able to be with their families and friends this year, and keep creating.
Thank you so much.
No worries, Julie.